very welcome to my workshop. I'm going to do a short series of 3 videos introducing you and showing you how to do sticky stuff. So we're talking about using green wood sticks, very simple tools, just to make some fantastic pieces of furniture and fun things as well. So what do I mean by sticky stuff? Simpler projects like this little horse here, and then we can expand that and make some sticky people, and then some more practical stuff, a stool, and we can work our way onto sticky chairs. And we'll be covering how to seat them and all the joints and the way to put them together. Now we can start with the tools. So I'll run you through some of the tools, very basic tools for this. So the construction of the sticky things, is very simple. It's like a mortise and tenon joint. So we just have a tenon or a dowel end, which is this round end here cut on, and then just a hole cut in, and they just assemble like that. As simple as that. That's the only jointing techniques we use, and we've got various tools for that, which I'll run through now. So to cut the dowel end, we have a simple, like a pencil sharpener. You can purchase these professional dowel cutters. This is like a pencil sharpener. There's a blade in there, and you use a drill or some method of rotating that, and it cuts the joint onto the end there. But of course, here's one I made myself. This is just using a piece of saw blade, which I've sharpened and curved, and this works equally as well. Just run it on, and as it is like a pencil sharpener, it just takes off little peelings. Another tool, obviously we have to saw the wood. So here's just a branch saw or a tree saw to make the hole. Lots of various things. We have an auger bit, which is quite good. There's an early auger bit. This is for more manual. I tend to use a drill and make it a bit quicker. You can use spade bits. These are quite good on green wood. Or this is even more efficient, a Forstner bit, which again, they're just drill bits. This tends to break out less. Breakout being bits of stuff coming off when you're drilling it, so it gives a nice clean cut. The spade bits tend to mash it up a little bit, but they all work very well. So we'll run through them again. The saw, handy, any saw will do. Making the holes, we have auger bits, the old one, the drill version, spade bits, and the Forstner bit again. And then we just use a little cordless drill here. You could use a hand drill or something like that, but I prefer the cordless. And then making the tenons on the ends, we have the professional, made by Veritas, this bit, or the homemade versions. This one equally as good, equally as good. So cutting the dowels, as I said, I prefer to use this. It's much handier to cut than the other ones. So we can use this in a drill. But I found, rather than, I made up this gadget actually, which is does the same job as this, but we use human power. So this is, there's the bit in there. If you push this, it actually spins the cutter. I found this a handier way If you want to use your green wood, you can pop it in. And you can just, without using a drill, you can cut away and it cuts your dowel end onto the wood like this. As you can see, just like a pencil sharpener, takes off little shavings, the same as a pencil sharpener. Much handier with green wood. Green wood is freshly cut, so there's still the sap in there. Cuts much handier, no dust, and there are other reasons for that which I'll explain later on. Now the way this is working, I just discovered that this size fits the bottom bracket bearing of a push bike. So in here there's two bearings sitting around here, and then I've got a belt from a car, so when I push it just spins it in the one direction, which is the cutting direction. Again, of course, this can just be done with this homemade tool here. I can use my clamping system there. We can pop the tool on. And we clamp it. And this does the same job, just a bit slower. Again, just like a pencil sharpener. And there we have, again, the dowel cut into the end. Now another component of this workbench is, if we use the other side, I have a simple thing here for holding the wood. Nice string, pop it there, and if I push here, it holds the wood tightly in there. And this is the drilling department, so if I want to drill, I can hold that down and then just drill away on the other sides to do the tenon, so to speak, the hole ready for the dowel. Now another tool, not essential, but it's another green woodworking tool, is this, which is called a shave horse. Obviously I think it's a horse because you ride it like a horse, and this is like a vice or a clamp to clamp your work. If you were to make a stool and you wanted to remove the bark, there's several ways to do that. You could use a good old knife and just carve the bark off. That's a nice way to do it, simple way. But if you want to use this machine, we have a draw knife which is specifically for this, and as I say, it's like a clamp, so we clamp the work in, and that's what this does. Clamps the work, and then you can use your draw knife and you can just draw some of the bark off. Again, just made from bits of wood, and this just swings freely and it clamps the work because that pushes onto there. Another few tools, not necessarily essential, but I like to use them. Good old Viking axe, or a cutting off axe for when you're coppicing. And this you can just use this for cleaning off some of the edges. So a few more tools that are handy. This, again, these are all made up. This is from a leaf spring on a car, just forged around a bit and then sharpened. This is handy for splitting. If you wanted to split some wood down the side, you just put it in and you can hit it. And split your wood in two. So we might be using that later on. Okay, we can use it for splitting bigger stuff. Put it in the middle there. The good thing about this is you can use it to twist sideways. Again, for splitting wood. You can even split it smaller. Pop it on there. And then we can split away. Now, you angle it. If the split seems to be running off, you'll angle it towards the runoff, if that makes sense. If the split's running across to the side, you'll split that side of it. If it's running to this side, split that side. Again, non-essential tools, but handy for bits and pieces, which we might see later on. Another handy thing with the green woodworking is that the wood isn't that mature. So cleanings and clippings are handy to be used, so you can reuse them. So first thing we'll do, we're going to go and clear up around the house. I have some hazel which we can chop away at, and we'll head on out there now. So different types of wood. Hazel, very good wood for green woodworking. Traditionally used for coppicing, which is chopping down every year and then they spring back again. There's several woods we can use. We can use oak, hazel, ash, maple. So we'll run through a few of them. But this is the hazel. You can tell, fortunately this time of year we can see the catkins hanging here. Definitely tells us it's a hazel. And we can also see the bark. It's quite silvery and ribby. So that's a good tree. The beauty of the hazel is, as I say, you can coppice it, which means you can cut it right down to the ground and then it'll spring up new shoots like these each year. And I'm using the saw here, just chopping away. You could use a chainsaw, but I find you get a much cleaner cut with this. Now the cut at a slight angle, and I prefer to cut it so that the water runs off away from the inside the stool of the tree there. Obviously you don't cut it too sharp, otherwise you leave lots of spikes around for people to fall on possibly. And if you cut it flat, it would encourage a disease to maybe get in because the water can run down the side is. So cut it at an angle and away from the middle of the tree. So when we're cutting our hazels, obviously make sure there's no one nesting in it. We don't want to wreck anyone's houses. So, and the time of year as well, you want to be cutting before March, the 1st of March, because 3 reasons. One is you don't want the nesting birds in there, as I just mentioned. 2 is, as we come into the summer and the spring, the sap starts to rise, and the sap in the winter lays dormant in the roots, and then as we come into spring the sap comes back into the tree, and the sap is very tasty to insects. It brings all the sugars back into the bark, so if you use wood that's been cut, once the sap's starting to run back into it, it's much more susceptible to woodworm or little boring creatures. So we do cut in the winter, as I say, before the 1st of March. And also the leaf. There's no leaf on these trees, so it's much handier to cut and process, take the branches off. When it's all leafy, you're totally lost inside your tree. Now while you're cutting, it's always worth looking at the woods. Now I'm thinking this here would be a nice shape in the back of a chair. So rather than just cutting here and here, I'll try and save that. So I'll probably cut here, here, and then down here, and I can maybe use that in the back of a chair. So it's always worth looking for nice features that will work in your furniture. So bearing that in mind, I'll chop it here. And we can cut it underneath just to get that bit of bark there. Always careful with the saw. Can't stand the sight of blood, especially mine. Let the saw do the cutting. Don't be really forcing it down. So there, I can probably use this in the back of a chair maybe. So there's a bit of ash in my ditch as well. It's quite high up, so I need this gadget to do it, and I can just chop away. So another place to collect is woodland or scrubland, and here fantastic woodland which I have permission to cut on, of course. So we'll have a look around, shall we? Lots of varieties in here. Here's our hazel again, with the fissured bark, and then next to that we have ash. Back here we have a holly. Quite interesting too, because somebody's found the bark quite tasty. A lot of interesting pattern on there, whether in scratching or chewing. There's a little beech there as well, with the leaves still on it to tell us it's a beech. Now that wouldn't be one of our coppice plants, that will not regrow. Now here's some nice ash. Tell it's the ash because of the bark there. And there's no one in it, so I think I might take that one. And there's others around it, so it's going to compete in time anyway, so I can bring this one out of it. So we clear the branches in the scrub, in the wood, and then what I'll do is I'll leave a nice little pile of the branches, and that will give a little bit of habitat for someone else to live in, so we can just leave them piled up. There's a few more to come yet. Here's an elder. I always tell the elder because these red shoots come out nice and early in the year, and it's got a soft feel to it. Again, not a lot of use for the greenwood. Tends to be a bit hard in the wood for it. Hopefully you enjoyed this first video, and the next time we will start making a project. We'll do the chair and the stool. So see you then.